Okay, if you guys log into Canvas, you should have 2 things on your to-do list if you're caught up, okay? If you have more than 2 things on your to-do list, here's what that means. By Sunday night at midnight, all those things are going to disappear, so get them in by then. Anything about the French Revolution or Napoleon closes on Sunday at midnight, okay? Because we got to start a whole new unit, and you see like in the modules we're at the end. So, for this week, the first one is your notebook. Everybody go to that assignment. It says Napoleonic Slam Notebook. You'll see the map of Napoleon's empire at its height in 1812, which is pretty much all of Europe he conquered or made his friends. This is the Google Doc that you and your group took notes on the battles from. It's already done. Turn it in. So you should see the submit button there. Find your Google Doc. Find your Google Doc and turn it in. Feet off the desk, Mr. Meisner. Thank you.
That's not it. I gotta go find it.
This is why you should name things when you make copies of Google Docs.
What is it? Yeah. Oh, I found her. Don't worry. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. What? I got you. I know. You sure with it?
Okay, I got it.
Chancey Hunt.
Does anyone need it shared with them from your group? It should be in your Google Drive.
I found it. Don't worry.
So do we still have to make, like, we have to do our own copy, right?
Say that again.
Like, we still have to...
No, just turn.
You have it in your Google Drive, right?
Yes, right.
Just hit submit and then click on that.
Oh, okay.
Why does he wear a sword?
What'd you say?
He's got a straight sword instead of
I corrected my recipe.
sword.
I graded it, didn't I? When did you turn it in?
Barely right now.
Okay, I haven't graded it then.
Yeah, barely.
I'll get to it. Okay, so here's the good news. That was one of 2 things you're responsible for this week, and you didn't have to do anything but turn it in because you already had it done. Okay? Now, once you're done with that, if you go back to your home page,
What's the name of that one?
Napoleonic Slam Notebook.
Hey.
Oh, got it.
Okay, look at your to-do list now. If you're caught up, that one it should be green, right? You got one left. Is it gray that says Napoleon's Legacy?
Yeah.
If you have anything else on there, it needs to be in by Sunday at midnight. Okay? This is what we're going to do today in class, which is fun. It's sort of like our test, but it's not really a test. There's no multiple choice or true, false, or anything like that. Okay? You should see a big statue of him pointing at nothing with his cool sideways hat. You get to decide after this week of learning about Napoleon and France after the Revolution, what should his legacy be? What does that word legacy mean?
I always remember.
Bam. Think about it like this. How many world history kids are going to read one little paragraph in their poor little textbook and then move on with life and never learn anything else about Napoleon?
All of them, but
Most of them.
us.
You get to write that one little paragraph. So think of it like this. In a textbook, you have like a section about Napoleon, and they usually try and put a picture on the side. You're going to make one about Napoleon. You get to choose his legacy. You can make it positive, negative, some mix of the two. He's a pretty dynamic guy. He was a pretty big deal. Okay? So here's what you have to have in there. Scroll below the picture and you'll see a nice, simple little rubric. Please always look at that before you turn it in. If there's a rubric your teacher gives you, the least you could do is look at it, especially if you want to understand the grade you're going to get later. Okay? So here's what you need. An image. It can be a painting. It can be a map. It can be a statue, like I have on this one. Okay? We'll talk about other forms. The only thing that really matters is, does the image you picked fit the legacy you say he should have? So if you say Napoleon was one of the greatest military commanders and he made France really powerful and awesome, but then your picture is a painting of him standing on St. Helena watching the last ship sail away while he's stuck on this island forever, that does not jive. It doesn't go with what you wrote. So your image has to fit the legacy you say he should have. If you say he lost 4 armies and didn't care about his men, don't pick a statue that makes him look like a good commander, because that doesn't fit. So the only thing that's really important about your picture is it meshes with, it jives with what you say his legacy should be. Okay? Now, you're also going to have to say, here's what his legacy is. Think of it like a topic sentence. Napoleon was this kind of guy, this kind of leader. 3 examples to back that up. So let's have a brief conversation to refresh our memories and make sure we're considering all options here before we pick. What are some positive things we can say about Napoleon? In our analogy of the animals, who was he? Elephant. Does his army do exceptionally well, at least early on? Absolutely. Is he creative? Is he brave? Is he ambitious? How did he get to be Emperor of France? Did he inherit it? Did he buy it? He earned it. And what is that system where he promoted people in his army based on merit? Meritocracy. Like the Boy Scouts, you got to earn the badge. You cannot buy them or say, my dad's the king, so just give it to me. However many he has, he earned them because the Boy Scouts are a meritocracy. Okay? Think about France, the state it was in during the Revolution. Was it not a bloody mess of people killing each other and infighting? And he takes that country and basically conquers all of Europe. So he doesn't just make France stable, he makes it more powerful than it's ever been in history. And when he inherited that country, remember what he said about the crown? I found it in the gutter and I picked it up and put it on my own head. The church didn't put it on my head. My dad didn't put it on my head. I put it on my own head. Okay? All of those positive things. Now, the negative.
He lost 4 armies.
And did he sometimes do sketchy things to his army? Not just like, we lost fair and square and you died. In Egypt, what happened? He left them and he didn't just leave. He disguised himself as a merchant and snuck back to France and claimed victory while 20,000 of his men were marooned in Egypt. Because don't you agree that's different if your leader left you? That's a bad thing. But he basically went undercover like a coward and snuck back home. If you're one of those 20,000 guys in Egypt, you would be very, very mad at that, right? Okay? Is that honorable?
No.
Remember we said like in naval culture, the captain goes down with the ship. Napoleon did not go down with his army in Egypt. He went home and took credit for what they did. What other negative things do we know about Napoleon?
He's not the whale.
Okay, when the elephant goes out to fight the whale at sea, what happened at the Battle of the Nile and Trafalgar yesterday? Gets their butt kicked, and his number one enemy through all of these campaigns was England. You can't beat the whale if he beats you every time you come at sea. So he could never defeat his one main enemy, which was the British. Instead, he fought their friends on land, and he did well at first, but in the end he lost. Okay? What other negative things? Can positive traits turn into negative ones at some point? Ambition. How would you say he was over-ambitious, Emma?
He took on more than he did.
Do you have an example of that?
Is it the Battle of the Three Emperors, or was it the other one?
Battle of Nations, which was Leipzig in 1813. Is that a good example of his over-ambition? Okay, if you remember the battle where his army gets surrounded in the town, he's surrounded on 3 sides, outnumbered 2-1. Should you fight that battle?
No.
Live to fight another day, but he thought he could win.
Well, you know how much you can handle it.
But remember, that's a great lesson for us as teenagers. Sometimes that argument with your parent or your teacher or your coach or whoever that is, when you think rationally, you go, I'll never win this argument. Okay, why are you having it then?
I always think
Huh?
I I always think of him.
I know. That's why Napoleon is a good example to us to remember, if you can't win, then don't fight that battle. Okay? Would you want to be a guy in his army?
Yes.
Do you want to die in the Russian winter?
No.
Yeah.
Do you want to help restore France to relevance and power?
No. Francis.
There.
Okay? Because remember, he lost his first army in Egypt. He lost most of his army. I saw that today. It's pretty cool, actually. He lost most of his army in 1813 at Leipzig. He lost almost his entire army in Russia in 1812. Don't invade Russia in the wintertime, people. It doesn't work unless you're the Mongols, right? And then at Waterloo, he loses his fourth army. So there's a good chance you're going to die if you're in Napoleon's army. Okay? So here's what you have to pick. We're going to take the instructions at the top. If you haven't already done this, highlight those and hit copy or Control-C. So we have the instructions in front of us. You paste those in, whatever you're going to write this in. Google Docs, Word, whatever. Okay? Here's what you need to come up with. One sentence. What is Napoleon's legacy in your eyes? Whatever you pick, you're going to have to find 3 examples to back it up and a picture that goes along with it. But before you can do any of those, think to yourself. You can look back at those battles on your notebook. You can ask me or ask your neighbors. What do you think his legacy is in a sentence? What kind of leader and general was he? What kind of guy was he? It's not simple, he was great, he was awesome, or he was just terrible. You can mix the two. Once you have that, we'll find 3 examples from what you learned this week from your classmates, and then a picture that jives with it. And then when you turn that in at the end of class, you will be done for the week and have a good weekend.